See, wherever you go, you have to listen to mother only. Here also, Google Maps everywhere. She said recording in progress. Okay. In yoga also, you enter, they will say Mother Kundalini only at the advanced level. Anyway, so in Sanskrita, you have a word called Vatavarana. In English, you call it environment. Vata Avarana. Avarana means a coating. Vata generally means air or movement. So, if you are practicing this for the beginners, in fact, almost other than people, other than a few, very few, most of us in the world are beginners, right? In a climate which doesn't trigger your vata, that's joint issues, you can practice in open space if there is no wind, if it is the sunlight is proper, that is before 8 o'clock. So it depends on where you live in the world and what climatic conditions are prevailing. It also depends on your vata, pitta, kapha type, your body type. What is your body type? That body type has to map with the climatic conditions where you live in. So that is for beginners. Okay. Because if you try practicing yogasana in open in Bangalore, you will get body pain. By nature, this is a vata triggering climate. That is, joint pains will accrue for the wind which is blowing in these kind of regions. Then comes the advanced stage where the human being in the quest of reality overcomes the limitation of the body's pain and pleasure. So when a person reaches that level, even in Himalayan mountains or any snow-clad mountains, they can practice the way what they are. So it is all about who we are, where at the stage of practice we are, which place we live in. So all these factors. So there is no binary answer or no straightforward answer for this thing. Second, depending on the sampradaya where you study, there are certain things which will happen in your body when you follow a sequence of postures while being practiced. So this question is also sampradaya dependent. That is the living tradition with which you are attached to when you're during your practice. The tradition will guide you which practice, how and where, how long you can practice. So this is the basic idea about the asana pranayama, all these practices. Now, coming back to Ellie's question of managing the body in the cold climate. So we need to invigorate the body. This is precisely the reason the Satyananda Yoga tradition gives us 34 postures called the Pavana Muktasana series. So how can we understand? Today, many of us are having a sedentary lifestyle. Though India says 70% are doing farming, technically how many of the farmers are still doing the way farming used to happen also, we don't know. There are very less physical activity is happening. So most of us who are in the need of yoga are almost graduated to a sedentary lifestyle. So the first thing which is getting affected for all of us is the joints in the body. The joints are not being given enough movements by all of us. Okay. So those days we used to wash our own clothes. There was a reason why they asked to wash. So when you wash the clothes, you hold the clothes like this, and we all have done it in our bachelor days or in the college days. So here the prostrate and uterus points are there. So if you speak to, suppose if your mother is in the 50s, so many of our mothers are here in the 50s, they used to get their monthly cycles in time. It's like a clockwork, it's like a calendar. Today, none of them get that. One small example, because the physical activity has reduced. This is from a gender point of view. Similar things have happened to men. We see a lot of prostrate related issues in men now because of similar things and stone formation in the body, not only in kidney, at various places. This is again the way men have confined themselves to a sedentary kind of a work. Of course, the water quality has degraded, many things are there. So what Swami Satyananda did is to address these lifestyle issues, which all of us need to do. So he made 17 postures as part of Pavanamuktasana 1 series, which completely handles rheumatic issues. So it's called anti-rheumatic series. Then the second area where all of us in the modern day face problem is like digestive issues. If digestion is not happening, the body metabolism cannot function at the optimal levels. So he has designed 8 postures which will work with your digestive fire. So for people in any climatic conditions, instead of directly starting with sun salutation and degrading it as a warm-up exercise and then proceeding to the asana practice, we should pick up these cues from the tradition to warm up not just the body, the joints, slowly warming up the digestive system, the digestive fire, everything is warmed. Then you get into the third series called the energy block release. It has 9 postures. So 17 plus 8 plus 9 is 34 postures. So even Swami Satyananda, what he has mentioned, if you have taken yoga as a career, weekly once, please practice these 34 postures. Because once someone becomes a professional, they seldom get time for personal practice. Virendra knows it very well. Virendra is a very accomplished teacher in the north part of Bangalore. A lot of very good sessions he gives. Moment you get into giving classes to others, you seldom get time to practice. So Swami Satyananda says a week, one day, give a break and you practice as a teacher this Pavanamuktasana series. So when you have selections from this 34, based on your body type, your need, your age, your health condition, the natural warming up of the body happens. You can make a 20-minute module. That is the first solution, Eli, for the question you asked. Second one is to gradually pick up sun salutation and get your body much more better and flexible. Then proceed to do the other postures. Then when you take up the pranayama aspect in your winters, you could practice heat generating pranayamas like Bhastrika and Kapalabhati. Bhastrika is nothing but forceful exhalation and forceful inhalation. Very simple. So all of us might have seen a blacksmith working, right? There will be a bellow will be there, the coal will be there, and all the tools, the heat is managed based on the way they are blowing that bellow, right? Equally, they will be doing inhale, exhale like that. So when a person practices that technique, you hear that sound. Like that, you hear the sound, which is equal exhalation, equal inhalation, forcefully done. So that is why it's called bellow breathing itself. Then the second technique which you could practice for warming up your body is called the frontal lobe cleansing technique. Very popularly, it's called Kapala Bhati. So wherein forcefully you exhale and naturally inhalation will happen because you have no choice. It's an autonomous process, inhalation and exhalation. So from the pranayama perspective, you could add these two to your practice to warm up the body. And the third process you could do is Jalaneti process, wherein you induce lukewarm saline water into the one nostril which is open, and then you do the opposite. So these are some of the techniques with which you can external processes you can warm up the body. And then you need to have food also accordingly, taking lukewarm water and the herbs which are very much prevalent in your country. So this is the way you have to manage. At the next level, you could pick up a mantra sadhana. And when you sit in the same place and you practice, naturally there is a different kind of heat which envelops your body, which will protect your body from periodically falling sick. Okay, so this is the approach to what you mentioned. And then Neeta's question, Sachin's question Sachin's question is framed from a corporate perspective. He used the word stress. Neeta didn't use the word stress, but that is also a stress. One day I will have to come and do a 500. That word stress was not used. But remember, like how we speak even in the corporate sessions, without stress, there is no life. Correct? Nikhila, you play some instruments, right? You play an instrument?
No, I don't play an instrument.
Which game you play?
Like physically or like in the iPad?
iPad, we don't consider game.
Then basketball, swimming,
Good.
just running and catching.
Very good. So basketball, how do you prepare the basketball before you play?
We dribble it and then we shoot it into the basket.
Okay. So how the ball should be? If I get a ball straight from the shop, will it be eligible to be used in the practice immediately?
Probably like inflate it.
Yeah.
Then it has a so you can bounce it.
Okay. So when you inflate it, do you feel lightness or heaviness in the ball?
Heaviness.
But without inflation, it's
Lighter.
opposite, right? No,
Yeah.
it's opposite.
Huh?
Think of it. Can you bounce a ball which is not properly inflated?
No.
Because it's properly inflated, it's lighter and with less effort, it will bounce well. If the ball is not inflated properly, it will not bounce properly. Correct?
Mm-hmm.
So when something has to come against gravity, it has to be lighter.
Oh, so when you inflate it, it can bounce properly.
Yeah,
So it'll be lighter.
because the same ball appears to be lighter. Correct? The ball is the same Costco ball or Nike ball. It appears lighter because you inflated it properly. So elders use a different word in corporate. They will say optimally. That's it. Small difference. That's it. Okay. So the stress in the ball has to be optimal. Beyond which, if you inflate, it will burst. Below, if you inflate, you can't have a good game. Your hands will pain. You can't throw, you can't bounce. So stress is something like that. You need to have optimal stress. For us to excel in life, you need optimal stress. And know why optimal stress? If you can't take it, we will burn out. That is why you need friends, you need a family to bounce back, you need a music to listen to, you can play something on iPad. You need an outlet to not allow yourself to burn out. Okay, Nikhila? So iPad should be the last option. Even inside home, you can run around and play, just like that. So this stress, I hope many of us have got that point. Please welcome stress into life and use it as a fuel to success. But don't allow stress uh, to overpower. That means that is not worth undertaking. So how you have a thumb rule for what is right stress, what is not right stress? This is where the tradition comes in. It tells you, because sometimes we may feel lazy and say too stressful, I didn't want to do. So how you will draw a line is understanding the concept called dharma. So what is dharma? Whenever you do something, you always cross check whether that doing is supporting you and the system around. Very simple. So for example, when Nikhila is trying to get her friends to play basketball after this lockdown, today everything is open. Simple thing, she had called for the game of basketball. So the day before, she can ask her parents, can you take me to the shop where I can inflate it properly? Very simple thing I am telling you. So what she has done, She has not only invited people for a game, she has prepared herself and everyone coming for the game. The only thing they need is a ball, right? So she took upon herself to keep the ball in proper shape. So she did her dharma of supporting not only her and the system of the game, what they are going to do. Like that in corporate as well, if something is going to add value, you can always go that extra mile, taking care of your mental and physical health. So we call it manodharma and deha dharma. Anything which is beyond it, maybe you have to keep revisiting and start thinking about why am I doing that. So that was your third question, right? Those thought processes. So what a tradition of yoga says, we are seated, no, we are physical. We are generally physical oriented. You see a fantastic car in the road. Many of us don't even ask whether that engine is good, whether it is worth buying, and can I afford it? What is the fuel efficiency? Yes, I can buy it, but can I pay for the maintenance charges? The physical presence is so captivating. We literally mortgage our thinking process and go behind it. Replace the car with many things. Children are here, so I'm just stopping with the example of car. So we, by nature, our senses and mind are outbound, outward looking. So many of us also limit ourselves to studying only the physical side of things. Beautiful home, but nobody to live with you. You have left the parents at old age home. Children are in boarding school. So what you will do with the beautiful home? It was just captivating. You had a great address in the downtown, you got that. But what is the purpose of having something so physically good, but whoever is close to you can't enjoy that? So when you start thinking about it, you replace this car and a downtown home with asana. By doing this, who are you trying to impress? Health is a byproduct of an asana practice. It is not for any statement. You don't need to come out of a asana class and give an update in Instagram. Have you ever seen a martial arts specialist doing such things? You rarely see, unless they are a teacher they are promoting. Why? The fundamentals of martial arts are very clear. It's a mind-body coordination. They don't say body-mind. It starts with the mind. So you rarely see somebody picking up a fight who is so good, the principles and practice of martial arts. They show the lot of restraints. So remember, only when we overcome the need of only things at the physical level, we can graduate to think what next. So this is one very important aspect we need to know. The converse is also, we should not trash it, because after all, whichever goals you have in your mind, without your physical body, you can't achieve. So there is a delicate balance you need to have in the asana practice. Just because you like an asana practice, earlier you were doing gymming and today you are into asana practice, please do not substitute. Study with the teacher, where the teacher would say, for your health and your need, a 30-minute practice is enough. For you, you need a 1 hour practice for 6 months. Then once your body metabolism is right, your obesity is under control or your diabetes is under control, then you move into a 40-minute schedule. So this constant change is possible only when you study with the tradition. The problem today we have in the mass classes, it starts at 6, ends in 7. How many of them really need a 1 hour session? We don't know. But we do that batch processing mode. Like an automobile is manufactured, human beings get into the asana class and come out of the class. So the customization is missing. So when you say yoga beyond asanas, we start from, am I practicing asana which is right for my age, for the profession, for the health issues if you are having some health issues, and for the time and commitment I have. So this is the first question we need to raise above the regular batch process, the asana classes. and you have to start evolving even in your asana sessions. Okay. Then next you should ask, yeah, I am very good in asana. What can I do next? So the tradition tells you the next step is called pranayama. But to practice that breath work, you need to sit stable in a place. Like when you study for exams, I see many of them, uh, many of us here would have sat at a table. The focus lamp will be only on the table. Today, children have individual rooms to study, right? Not many of us had individual rooms to study. Parents will be sleeping, your sister, brothers are sleeping here. They will give you a desk or some place, just the lamp is focused and you are studying. So what do you do that time? Throughout the day, you might have run here and there and played, but if you have not developed the ability to sit in a place and just do that, you can't go to the next step, which is the next class, right? Similarly, when you do the dynamic asanas, you need to know, unless you are prepared to sit in a place which is called a meditative posture, even a 20-year of your asana practice is waste if you can't sit in 20 minutes in a place without moving. So now it is not necessary only someone who has an asana practice can sit steady. So these are all the notions we have. You can always get physical fitness through many things, out of which asana is one holistic method. Please remember. So how we define this yoga itself in the tradition is anything which gives you a balance of mind and body, whether it is taekwondo, karate, kung fu, judo, you can call it yoga. It's just the language is different. That balance it has to give between the body and the mind. You can call it yoga or you can whatever you want to call it. So this is the purpose of any practice. So you could get that balance by practicing Kalaripaitu. You can get that balance by lot of other processes available in the tradition and across the world. So first thing is we should take from our mind that only asana will give me a balance of mind. So these kind of notions we need to knock it off. Correct? So please remember. So this is how we need to think of yoga beyond asanas. Reason now the International Yoga Asana Day we have to call. It is not an International Yoga Day because other than asana, nothing is happening throughout the world. So I purposefully put International Yoga Day. I didn't put International Day of Yoga. Everyone writes IDY because it's a world norm. So in one place I had put International Yoga Day only because we need to move towards Yoga Day from Yogasana Day. For that, first we should understand what can be included in the scope of yoga and asana. So I hope this is clear, right? A child can get that calmness and steadiness by playing basketball. She exercises all the limbs. She bends forward. She bends backward to shoot. She goes in the side, right and left. She twists behind to block it. Whatever you do in the asana class, she is able to do it in the basketball court. That child is far better and equipped to sit quiet and study or meditate. So these kind of notions we need to first remove to raise above any posture or any activity which gives you a sense of balance in mind and body. You can treat it as yoga. So this is the first thing. Then what happens as human beings, we have interactions. The moment you have an interaction, whether there is a result or not, there is emotion because result sometimes cannot happen immediately. So this emotion can be managed reasonably by working with your breath. So pranayama techniques are not only for a yoga teacher or someone who is worn out or someone who is tired. Anyone who is wanting to be more mindful of prana can learn pranayama technique. Like for example, even though I may not be following a very extraordinary, I may not be diet conscious, but if I have common sense, I will eat properly, right? You don't need to be nutrition, diet conscious to eat properly. Am I making it clear? If you have common sense, without anybody telling, you will eat what is required. No, nobody needs to give you a diet plan. So when I say common sense means what? You are not swayed by your sense and you are trying to do as per dharma what is right for the mind and body as well as your pocket. Pocket means money, right? So you can use common sense also. For everything, we don't need to bring in the jargons, correct? So what happens? Because we are unable to directly address the emotion, we try to address it by prana. Why this word prana is important? Many of you who have been listening and many Srimad students know difference between breath and prana. Breath is an inhalation and exhalation happening. Prana is something plus which is happening to that. So prana is called life force. Breath is called shwasa. So why in pranayama is called pranayama and not called shwasayama? There must be something, right? So the reason is prana is life force. The difference between somebody in the who is sick and who is in coma state, who is breathing, we are also breathing. If the prana is more in your body, you rarely fall sick. That's why people say emotions can increase or deplete your prana. So don't constantly crib, don't constantly say why this is happening to me, others are doing well. You are not only depleting your prana shakti, your life force, whoever is listening to you also will be losing it. So remember, so what is happening in pranayama, like your fan regulator, you using certain techniques work with the prana channels in the body. So why that is important? As per the Tantra system, we have 72,000 nadi. Nadis means subtle energy channels. These are like your hose pipes which are there in the garden for watering. If there is a clog, the pipe may burst. So you need to do maintenance to that. So whatever you eat is processed as energy and it is taken to all parts of the body. So this is one of the work of the nadis. Second, every function what you can think of is called a nadi. For example, if the mind is in a meditative state, it appears you will have breath in both the nostrils. Without anything. The mind, when the mind is reset and ready, naturally both nostrils you will have the flow of breath. That means a particular nadi called Sushumna has been awakened. Suppose your mind is having so many thoughts, constantly thinking what to do, this to do, that to do. Maybe predominantly your left nostril is flowing. The left nostril is to do with manas. So many thoughts, so many confusions, so many times constantly thinking about. So the teacher would help you to shift it to the right. Again, the right one helps you to take right decisions, very cut and dry, So when people are more in this side, a balance of that is given. So the simple technique called Nadi Shodhana Pranayama helps in working with these three. So like that, every pranayama technique has to do something at your psychological level, also in the physiological level. So how can this be practiced? Only when you have steadiness. That is why you do dynamic postures to develop the ability to sit quiet. And then once you're able to sit quiet for 20 minutes at least, then alone, earlier days, you used to be taught pranayama techniques. Otherwise, you never used to be taught that. And then once you do the pranayama techniques, what happens? There is a balance in the mind happens. You learn to withdraw, you learn to quieten by mere pranayama techniques. Once that happens, the teacher would introduce you to some withdrawal techniques. Okay. Yeah, 1 second. Yes, Nikila?
Oh,
Did
sorry,
you-
send that by mistake. I was just checking
Yes.
what that.
Okay. Did you send it to Sanjana?
I was trying to, but
I figured it out. Okay. Okay. So when the mind is not in the proper frame of mind, you are looking out to breathe properly. Even a child does it. So what do you tell the child when it is crying and trying to tell you? You tell the child, you sit down, relax. I'm going to listen to you. Take a couple of deep breaths, think clearly, and tell what happened. So when you start breathing deep and clear, whether you are a child or a grown up, you start to express yourself properly. So the mind, emotion, and the prana are very intricately connected. So using this technique, we understand ourselves to the level in which we know, yeah, whenever this person is walking into the office or home, stress, the mere sight of them brings stress. Like Nikhila may get it moment she sees the maths teacher, right? Am I right, Nikhila? Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. So this is what happens. Nobody did anything. Mere you saw that person, the mind tells, oh, not again. Like Nikhila will be thinking, next time he announces a program, I will not send an email. He's only bowling bouncers here. He's not even considering a child is sitting and just talking, just joking. So you don't know that. So mere thought of something could upset your breathing pattern. Your mind will go haywire, think about your past interaction with those people. So immediately, if you could know some breathing techniques, you can calm yourself down. And when you really want to erupt, you can erupt also. So you have a choice there, not automatically you erupt. So that is how you have those techniques. Then when the withdrawal happens, what is this withdrawal from? Today, the problem is instant gratification, right? Particularly the pandemic came or not, good business is for whom? Food delivery guys, Swiggy, this, that, everybody. Oh, I feel like eating this. You're watching a cricket match. Suddenly they are showing some McDonald's advertisement. Okay, immediately call this fellow. Who is next? Just order today pocket money. Let me give to Swiggy. Let me have. So instant gratification. So now today the life is pushing you into instant gratification. So what we do in the system of yoga is to learn a few techniques to gratify at the right time and not stressing ourselves to gratify right now. Correct? Amazon Prime will deliver tomorrow. Regular Amazon will take 3 days. So what you will do, you will subscribe for Amazon Prime. Okay, 129 rupees, I think they started per year. I think now they are collecting per month only. So what is happening? The entire thing around you is pushing for instant gratification. So what these techniques can do is to help you to give a right perspective. There are certain things which has to happen instantly and everything need not happen instantly. There is a great reward if we know how to wait for it. Correct? So the mind is prepared to know that. Suppose you are making curds, how much ever you look at it, it will take 6 to 8 hours for the curd to form. But if you keep shaking it, nothing will happen. Next day morning, you can't use that as a milk. You can't call it anything. Some white liquid will be there. But the same, those are rotis on the tawa. You need to instantly do things to keep it edible, right? But the same edibleness for the curd, you need to wait overnight. Am I right, Nikhila? You are making custard or ice cream or a fruit salad, right?
You need to keep it overnight, yeah.
Yeah, this is the key. So what do these Pratyahara techniques teach us? It helps us to profile our senses and then tells these areas we need to work and these areas we are really stable. So it gives you processes like Yoga Nidra, because some desires in our life, like I am thirsty, I need to drink water. That's a desire. You can just say, put the screen off, or you can say, let me drink water and come back. Suppose you want to build a home. You can't do that. You need to wait. But both are desires. So the clarity of which desire can happen now, which desire has to wait, without attaching so much emotions, but you need to invest reason and logic to understand. This kind of skill set is developed when someone learns the withdrawal techniques. You understood, no? Then once you learn those techniques, the mind becomes conducive to graduate into concentrating on whatever job you chose. And finally, we enter Amit's question of meditation. So this is the progression. So what yoga as a system gives us is an eight-limbed process, eight-limbed system called Ashtanga Yoga. Ashtanga Yoga, out of which the asana portion is called the third limb. And with steadiness of posture, we graduate to practice pranayama, which is the next limb. Once we have steady pranayama practice, we will graduate to the next limb, because you saw the emotions and the mind, the breath, they are very closely connected. Once you learn to manage the breath, reasonably, you will be able to manage the emotion and the mind. And once you are able to manage the emotion and the mind understands emotions are there as a icing on the cake, but mind is the original cake. So it starts to focus on that stuff which is more original and uses emotion wherever necessary to the level in which you and others can enjoy. The emotion is like a makeup kind of a thing we have to treat. But the real stuff is the mind on which all these emotions happen. So when you go to the concentration techniques, like for example, if Nikhila, you have any exams next week or anything?
July we have exams.
Which day you have exam?
I don't know, they didn't tell. We have summer break right now. So
Your
July.
summer break. So what are the things you have before exams and what you don't have before exams? Suppose tomorrow is your exam. If I ask you for a cup of ice cream, would you like to have, or after the exams?
After.
Yeah. So that is called discerning. What is happening here? Her mind is very clear that for exam, my health is important. Though I like the taste of blackcurrant or hot chocolate fudge or whatever, it may upset my exam schedule. I have prepared for this exam for so long, so let my taste wait. Correct? So after exam, you fall sick also, it's okay. But while exam, you are very clear, I am not going to give in to my senses, which is predominantly the domain of emotion, but I am going to be there with, I am not losing focus. The focus is exam. That's what Nikhila said. For that, she doesn't need to study Ashtanga Yoga. So you go back to that common sense. And common sense is not devoid of emotion or sense pleasures. It tells you when to have sense pleasures and how much to have and when to have. That's what she clearly said, right? So concentration is where she's focusing on exam and we focus on the cake or the job in the hand, where nothing else pushes and prods us. Correct? Then what happens? The mind, without our knowledge, slips into meditation. So this is the structure in which the role of asana, which gradually leads us into meditation. So what is a great advantage of studying in the tradition is if you directly pick up a text, which is the Yoga Sutras, which is the main text for study of yoga as a system, The text doesn't tell you specifically which process to do. Okay, it will tell you withdraw. But how to withdraw? You need to go to the tradition, sit with the teacher and say, so the same tradition 400 years back, why 400? 40 years back will tell you, weekly once you go to multiplex, that's enough. Today the tradition will tell you, don't watch more than one thing in Amazon Prime. What was weekly indulgence when we used to be a child, a monthly indulgence of going to a theater? Today, theater is inside your home. So, see the sensory things which are happening for today's kids, right? So, the tradition will tell you what to do to manage these external things. It is not a stagnant thing. That's why it's called living tradition. So, what our tradition has given, it has given an invaluable asset called a japa. So those who are following other systems, if you are following the Islam, you have a system called tasbih. Tasbih is the sound. Shahid, no, tasbih is a sound. You go to church, they will say the name of the Lord. You have something there, correct? What is that tasbih or the name of the Lord or a mantra is nothing but a formula, a sound formula. It is really a sound formula. You keep saying it again, again, and again. How much we should say? Like a needle trying to become a magnet. So that long we need to stay with the mantra. So what happens when from concentration, it is not easy to move into meditation. Our system has given a technique called japa, which is a constant repetition of a sound. Why it is given? Only when you practice japa, you can predict what's going to happen next. Probability. You may be adept in stock market, but you can't predict the rate of the stocks. You may be a forex trader, but you can give a bandwidth, but you cannot exactly predict. The probability also sometimes difficult. So despite these situations, many of us were thinking how the Sensex went above 50,000. Nobody knows how. So many things which are happening around us sometimes will defy logic and probability. But one thing which is very certain, if you learn this mantra or a tasbih or the name of the Lord, there is a probability by coaching and training that you could train your mind to say this as the next. So there is a sense of predictability. Generally, stress happens when completely everything is unpredictable also. So what our tradition tells, the world is going to be dynamic because it is called Jagat. And Jagat in Sanskrita means that which is constantly changing. So one of the name of God given in India is Jagannath. That is Jagat plus Nath coming together is called Jagannath in Puri temple. That means what? Lord of change. Everything else is going to change around us. The way these kids are studying, schooling has changed. How much we used to study for exam, now you don't need to write exam. 30, 40 formula children are clearing the exams. Correct? So everything is going to be in the state of change. We will grow old, get something, we will pass away. This everything is changing. What tradition tells us, hold on to something which has been changeless. I'm just telling you how people generally get into that meditative state, which is the ultimate. When you start holding to something which is steady, despite of all the changes, then it is like an ocean, a wooden log you are holding on. How much ever waves are there, if the wooden log is tied to you, you will not drown. Or the jacket. So have we found that life jacket in our life? The moment you find it, you will notice, you will start experiencing meditative moments through this jacket, which is a mantra, a tasbih, or the name of the Lord, working with the mantra, because this is going to be there, whether you have a job or not, whether Nikila is now a school student, to Neeta, who is a HR professional, first in India, then abroad, tomorrow she may go to Europe. We have no idea about it, correct? But this one stays with that individual forever when everything changes. Because some of you are yet to be married, some are married. In future, maybe one of us will be there, partner will be not there with us. Parents were there, for some of us, parents are there. So everything else is going to change. You need to hold on to that changeless. So one of the first step is to hold on to this word mantra or tasbih. This is one small input. So whatever stress you have, you will know this is not permanent, because there was a time without stress and there will be a time. It is the thought which has changed. But before, now, and after, I am not going to leave my process. So today, you get this book called Our People Say, in Atomic Habits. The book is selling very well. In tradition, we call that as Nitya Karma Anushtana. That means whether it is a Sunday, Saturday, Monday, Friday, there are some things like you're brushing the teeth, having breakfast, lunch, dinner is fixed in your life. So the more you have those things clear, the dynamic things keep changing. So the other way of understanding what is yoga is to find your own way to connect that which is stable in your life and that which is dynamic in your life. That connection, you can call it yoga. That anchoring, something which is bringing that together, because this is non-negotiable for you. Like you're brushing, taking breakfast, lunch, dinner, taking bath, your oral or physical, all hygiene things are non-negotiable. Along with that, some schedule which you have a non-negotiable. So despite whatever is happening around, you will know that you can anchor yourself to this non-negotiable, non-changing aspect of your life, which ultimately comes out of others will tell, oh, that is the way they live, that is their personality, they are known like that. So that is one step which at the end of today's discussion, or I'm just trying to tell this discussion, first 10 minutes you spoke and I'm only talking, but still, if we could move out of this today's session by asking ourselves, can I list things which will be there with me in life despite of whatever is changing? That is one. Second is, can I have a set of processes? It need not be an yoga asana, but can I have a set of processes and practices which will keep me physically fit and agile? Then your mind will ask, like what Neeta said, what next? So that I can sit quiet and help myself to calm down by breathing practices, then later other advanced practices. So what am I going to do by practicing advanced practices, so-called meditation and other things? We will know who we are. Otherwise, how we will know who we are? Otherwise, you will only think, oh, I am Krishna. This is Bhavana. These are personality, no? I was telling you, from the physical level of leading the life, we need to go to that inner life. Correct? So the only objective as per tradition is knowing who you are. Every day, what are you doing to know that real you? This is another way you have you can get ahead with it. Thanks, Ellie. Am I right? So what we have to do when you finish today's session, you ask yourself, what are the things which you are doing to keep your physical body fit? You choose anything, Pilates, asana, taekwondo, jogging, that suits you. Scientifically, medically, for the age and the profession you do, please feel free to choose that. And when you choose that, slowly understand that some things you can do only with a gadget. Slowly move away from the need of a gadget in your exercise or in any of the practices. I'm telling this, you should go to the level of even practicing asana without a mat. Because when a mat is not there, you have an excuse of not practicing it. So can you practice on a blanket? Can you practice on a carpet? The practice is important. Bhavana is smiling, right? When you go on a trip, we don't practice for 5 days, you come back and then that is gone.
It
So
happened with me today morning. Like, I was not in Bangalore, but I had to practice. I didn't carry my mat, but I just did it. So I could just
yeah,
correlate.
true. So similarly, we need to only cut the dependency on external things. So similar to asana, any process you do to keep it. Why you do that? So that you become emotionally, mentally stable. It is difficult. So you learn some pranayama and other techniques to do that. If you don't do, what happens, like how I told you in the start of the session, oh, the car is so beautiful. You will forget everything, right from affordability to maintenance to whether that is worth. You will be captivated by the physical side of things. So if we have to move beyond the physical side of things in the system of yoga, you need to first start customizing. Remember, you are a Rolls Royce. Every human being is unique. So you are a Rolls Royce. So you need to customize for you. It is very, very important. So approach the teacher and say, see, I'm doing a common class. Kindly help me to customize. That's the first step if you want to think yoga is beyond asana. Then you ask, yeah, I did a customized practice, but I'm not able to work with my anger. So learn techniques which will help you to work with anger. I'm giving an example, okay? All of us have our own issues. So we need to find out and practice something accordingly. Then you can say, my mind, I need to keep it steady because intellectually I am very good. I studied in this college. I'm working as a director in this company. Even if I retire today, throughout life, I don't need to work because of my intellectual strength. But am I emotionally strong? Am I mentally well equipped to deal with the realities of life? Sometimes it's a big zero. So I have physical comforts, creature comforts. I have intellectual acumen. What can I draw from the wealth of yoga to build my emotional and mental abilities? So some of us can focus on that and build our portfolio. And finally, the spiritual aspect is nothing but, am I accommodative? Am I tolerant? Am I trying to be living my life as per dharma to the best of the abilities? So in this way, you will have a physical health, mental health, emotional health, intellectual health, and the spiritual health. So having right type of people in satsanga and swadhyaya will give you the right type of intellectual wealth. Because whatever we are having the intellectual wealth right now, rarely people have it due to their personal reflection. It's due to the borrowed secondary market or somebody's book or some thoughts. Very rarely people have the intellectual wealth, which is a reflection and the clear idea of what is right, despite so many sources available. Correct? So you have to think through all these things. Then the word yoga makes a lot of meaning because it means balance, one of the meanings given in Bhagavad Gita. So when you have balance in all these 5 dimensions, it is good. Second, you need to have the ability to accommodate and tolerate, because if you understand you are unique, the other person is also unique. So how can they and you behave in the same way? As long as it is as per dharma, let people have their freedom of expression within the accepted framework. So that is tolerance. Correct? So that will help in lot of emotional and mental balancing. That tolerance will help, provided you are convinced that the truth that we are unique. Once you are convinced you are unique, you will start accepting the uniqueness in others. That itself will reduce stress, because the way your boss is seeing an issue, you may see differently. There is no right or wrong. Correct? So you'll start accepting, oh, maybe that's their point of view. In his position, he may be right. From my point of view, I am right. So somewhere you get the middle way. It's not my way or highway. So it's very, very important to accept uniqueness if we are practicing yoga. Correct? And third is, whatever you can do, you do after fulfilling your own dharma. I keep coming back to that because your classmate may be a great entrepreneur. You may have passed out with similar marks at the similar institution, but your mind and body capability may be completely different from them. So you need to be so clear about these things. Otherwise, endless comparisons will make us feel or forget our uniqueness. So yoga is, in a nutshell, taking care of these 5 aspects of our personality and getting into the state of union of all these personalities, so that you are able to reconcile and balance and accommodate instead of contradicting each and everything. Is it okay? Did anything went unanswered? Don't worry, 2 minutes we'll close. Anna, anything?
Are you asking me?
Yeah.
Well, first of all, I want to say a huge thank you for this lecture, because it's beautiful and eloquent and brings everything together. And then the key point is to practice, keep practicing and learning and keep doing. The moment we stop, I think that's where we start questioning and doing things wrongly. And then I really like it. It's amazing. The only thing I would like to say is that you mentioned that the teachers don't have time for their own practice, but we do teach our students. And I strongly believe that it is our responsibility to practice for ourselves, because when we're practicing ourselves, we understand yoga, we understand asanas, we understand pranayama, and the challenges we are going through as a pure mortals. We will teach better our students. When they come and sit in front of us on their mats, you will be able to connect and to think which part of their lives they are now on. Are they mothers? Are they fathers? Are they students? Are they professionals? Where the stress is, because we're all dealing with the stress. But thanks to Krishna and Srimad, we know a roadmap to balance ourselves, but we can do this only as a community, because it's very difficult, no matter how much knowledge you have, how many books you have read, until you don't have community to support you and a person to talk to and better yourself on this way, because yoga is a journey for all of us. But I think the thing I would really add is, as a practicing teacher for many years, is that practice is our responsibility. We wouldn't become good teachers until we practice. And I think we also need to be humane to ourselves, because we're just humans and we can sleep, but we have Krishna and Srimad, we go back to track. But when you sleep, you go back to yoga practice. And I'm talking about asanas, which was being hijacked by the West quite rightly. We know asana is only yoga as an asana. So when we go back to the mat and you practice again at the stage of sun salutation, and you can feel every bone in your body, all the energy, all the prana, everything coming together, because you learned it with Srimad. You remember this, and then you take a break and you go through this, and everything's come together. The same with the pranayama, yoga nidra. And then stop, please. But I think it is as I'm trying to say, it is our responsibility to have morning practice and drive us as a yogi or practicing yogis to have it. Mantra, Bhavanak National 1, that's verbatim, and then bringing yourself to sun salutation, if you will, if you can, if you want, but don't forget the first 17 asanas. This is the wisdom. And I'm talking to you, going all the way around and gaining this wisdom, despite I had my course many years ago, and only through practice, I learned the wisdom of the tradition, which is not normally taught in yoga shalas, in sports club. Nobody will give you this asanas. And because you know, because Krishna taught you, so just go back and do that. But please keep your own practice going, just little by little. And you will feel how better you can become and how much you can give to your students, because you will be able to relate.
Thank you, Anna.
Thank you. Thank you.
Sure. Good. Nikhila?
I really liked the session. Like it kind of related to me, like I knew what was going on. And even though it was an asanas, I actually felt it, and I really liked it. So thank you for this great session.
Thank you. Amit?
Yeah. So Krishna, I think, like you rightly said, a lot of focus or the spotlight has gone towards, some limbs of yoga. While it's almost literally, we can say the whole world is, towards that, and sometimes you can't even shake that spotlight away, from, possibly one or a little bit on something else. So I think you have put in that kind of an effort wherein you said, if I can't move that light, I'll bring my own light and shine it on the other limbs.
Yeah.
And with the kind of effort that you're doing, I think with even your students, right? It's like you're setting out little lights around the world, to shine it more on, all these other limbs, and, give it the thing as to what it actually is. That's very important, because we need to understand the whole as yoga is than anything else, and that's what really makes. And I think the way you said, how common sense makes it, and you're not telling that, okay, a beautiful example you gave when Nikhila is like playing on the basketball court and then still doing things, and even I think many were stressed, probably whose example you're going to take, but then Nikhila took that stress like it was nothing, in a sense, right? Because sometimes we're afraid if you point out someone in that. And so overall, I think that is very important, and that's a big difference I see in the way which we even let's not talk about anyone else. We say that this is where yoga was born, but how much we ourselves are aware of it is pretty much low, especially in this manner. So thank you for that. And overall, the way you took it, it was refreshing, for the mind. So yeah, thank you for that.
Thanks, Amit, for your continued support for many years now. The system should thrive, because system was there before. It will be there even after we long kicked our buckets. So we need to, our work is to pass the essence. And as Amit rightly said, whoever is there in any part of the world, everyone starts spreading that holistic nature of yoga without losing sight. Asana is very key, like foundation. At the same time, we should not stay in the foundation, and building has to come up, right? So that light, I think he used the right word. We have to, wherever we go, we have to shed that light. Or in Anna's words, you be that light and everybody will, start practicing it. It's great. So we go to the first question. He's sitting there, Giridhar. And it was tough talking to people when people like him are seated, because they have very deep real life experience of many things which I'm privy to. So very honored to actually talk before elders like you.
Can I ask a question? So
Yeah.
we were talking about it's more about kind of a notion like how important, as you said, just to do the step by step, but just like algorithm which was given, like and then it's yama niyama asana pranayama pratyahara, and it's very interesting, like until we do all of this, it's what together as a system, systematically, we will benefit. If we don't, an amazing example for me, which it's breaking my mind, is mindfulness. And I really have a big problem with this, as it was begin hijacked as yoga asana, and mindfulness is pratyahara. And then that's a great example. No matter how many courses you would take looking for peace, I don't know, you won't be able to do that because there's no system, there's no asana, there's no pranayama, and then whatever mindfulness you do, it won't work. So you spend so much money looking for this, but it's only part of the system, which was being adopted and adapted throughout the world. But the problem is with practicing mindfulness is virtually impossible because you can't sit 20 minutes in a comfortable position. And that's where the whole systems come together. And that's why the system is so beautiful. And that's why the living tradition is so beautiful. And I think we're so lucky to have, unfortunate and privileged to have Krishna to lead us on this journey.
You are making
Anna,
me blush,
I kind of really agree with what you tell, because just going back to what Krishna was telling earlier, because the systems are so good, even in parts, they provide that instant gratification, or they can last beyond the things, even, when someone practices mindfulness, without knowing the whole thing, even that little bit goes much further than, what they know. So then you are in the belief that, like now, I don't know, Neeta, right, who's asked what's next, right? Sometimes we are not even looking at what is next. Sometimes we don't know that there is something much beyond, what we can experience. So I think they work so well. Sometimes we just don't realize, what is there more or what we are lacking even. So yeah.
Yes, why that point is important, then I'll request Giridhar to speak, is if you speak of mindfulness, I didn't speak about it because of the diverse nature of the audience. The past itself is an obstacle. So unless it is only to tell how I practice is important. Is till the discussion, it started off today, right? There was no idea what is going to happen in the session. So that is actually living in the now. And how is it possible? You can't be taught. You have to live. And what is that formula is what Anna said, that systematically allowing yourself to go, because there is someone who has put thought and made that system. It's working for ages. You can improvise, but you can't change anything there. So that is very, very important. So that dynamic thing will happen only if this kind of understanding is there. Preparation is not for a session. Preparation is for life. And the session will get something out of that preparation. So that is the way we have to be having mindfulness. If you sit and practice mindfulness, that's a different domain. May not be for grihasthas to begin with, but mindfulness in living is very, very practical if reasonable practice is there. Or to Giridhar.
Can you tell me about something about Atma Yoga?
We have to meet alone.
Alone.
No, that is Vedanta. They are bringing everything to the level of yoga. Like people are misrepresenting and giving definitions like Jivatma, connection with Paramatma is yoga, all that. There is nowhere, no text, no teacher has said that. So like that, whatever you do to get connected to yourself, you can, if you say the word by word meaning is that. So for that, we need to remove which is not. Then again, it gets into the domain of Vedanta. What is not, they will say. Because what is what you have to discover. So which point of view you are asking, we can have a discussion outside the purview of this class.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, any of you would like to share something? Yeah, otherwise, it was great meeting all of you here. Great. Yes, Nita.
Just want to say thank you, and I got my answers from from this session. It's unbelievable how you put things into perspective for me every time. So thank you. I know what's next. Nothing. I continue doing what I'm doing. Continue in the same manner. Really, my practice, it has to keep going, and the practice will tell you what to do next. So thank you for that.
Thanks, Nita. Kishore, would you like to give some concluding remarks? I nowadays start my day with Kishore at 5:45. Yes, Kishore.
No, nothing really, because everything, whatever was this thing has been this thing. Only thing is like what everybody said. There's a lot of stress on asanas, and that is something which we need to go beyond and get into the other aspects of yoga and try to understand what we are and what we are in search for. And like what Nita said is the same thing that even I was having in a different way, where every day we are practicing certain asanas, we are practicing pranayama and other things, but then are we stagnating was the question. And probably I did not know how to ask it, and Nita did it for me. That answers whatever you said, answers to me too as well. So just continue to do it, and one day we will strike gold.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Super.
Thank you.
Thank you. The easiest way to understand what next is very simple. When your sample space is less, you know what is next. Like Nikhila knows there are 200 people in her same class. They'll keep getting ranks. Once she comes to the public exam, the 10th, you don't know what's going to happen. Who is going to be first? Who is going to be second? You have no idea. Correct? Then again, you graduate into getting a job. You don't know where you are going to get the job offers. So the more you get into the core, you are actually getting into the territory of unknown. So nobody can tell. Only your own desires, your own practice will tell you naturally the next steps. That's what you also expressed. So that is how things are. So great. Thanks to each of you for the patience. Thank you so much. Stay safe. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. With your permission, I am ending the meeting. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you for
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.